Good evening, guys. How are you feeling? All good? So today I'll be talking more about like how the modular world works and how we vision the future for that. So the interchain highway, is it a fancy term? I think you might have been hearing for the first time. So what interchain highway, like how we define is that it's the easiest, safe, and secure path with which connect between blockchains or the rollers which are coming up. And how we're going to do that is by two terms, which is called permissionless interoperability and modular security. So we will be talking more about these two topics later when we go in depth. So internet computers. So when the internet computers came, just like when the Bitcoin and the Ethereum and all the Celestia new blockchains came, we introduced digital scarcity into this, right? Like so into the digital domain. So we introduced scarcity to the entire domain, and what this scarcity bring to us, which it gives us sovereign money and as well as permissionless access to computation. So as you can see here, it is one of my favorite image. So you can see blocks of Ethereum and Bitcoin in the image of bus, and you can see people's as transaction. So here you can see in the case of this. So in the case of bus, we have the seats limited. So once the bus is filled, it goes away, and we wait for the next bus, right? But in the case of blockchains, we introduce something called surge pricing, and the reason why we are here, because all of us believe in blockchain and crypto, and we want to make this space more demanding. And at some point, we all felt like the gas is damn too high. We all felt that, and at some point, we even didn't do a transaction because of this particular one reason. So enter Hyperlane. So to make it simple, so Hyperlane is a permissionless interoperability layer, and so for the easy takeaway for you is that we allow anyone to connect between any chains. So any chain is the important word here, and how we do that. So as you can see, we can see all the modular chains coming up right now, and the only key part which is that missing is that the interoperability layer. So one of the main reasons is that we can see a lot of tools like OP stacks and AltLayer and a couple of roll-up as a service tools like Calendar and Eclipse. So it is easy for you to create roll-ups in 10 minutes right now. You can just spin up a roll-up in 10 minutes with using some of these uh, deployers layers. And so let's say if I create a roll-up today and maybe right now, and one of the main issue for me is to connect between other chains, right? Like uh, that part is where we solve at the interoperability layer. So one of the main reason why this interoperability layer is facing the issues, Gal, the messaging layer and the security model is tightly coupled. So, and no one said that these two things have to be coupled all the time. So we are separating this security model and messaging interface. Yeah, sorry for the mess. So we introduced something called like modular security. So what it does is called, so for example, I would say for each scenario, you need different security cases, right? For example, if I want to take $100 from a bank, I can simply go to a bank and use my ATM card and withdraw the money. And let's say if I want to withdraw like $50,000, and the procedure for that changes, and the security protocols is different for that. So I have to maybe give some of my identity proof or some to make the transaction like make like legit. And in the worst case, if I want to close my account, the protocol for that is again different. So and one of the and these things and one of the so usually the blockchains this chain they do interchain messaging using they have native verification. So but if you are in the IBC or Tendermint chain, it's easy for you to uh, trust the each other chains and do the process. But if you're in the EVM chains, it's very hard for you to trust because uh, you have to validate each other consensus. It is very hard, and that method is one of the expensive method which we have on right now. So we introduce something in between, a third party. And like I said earlier, so right now, since these blockchains are evolving and modular space is evolving, we can see a roll up, lots of hubs coming everywhere, like the OP stack, which I told you before, and the Celestia. And these all hubs create their own chains, and that's why they need the permissionless interoperability. And it should not be like I should wait for a particular protocol or a particular app to give access to connect with them, rather than it should be a self run process. And now I'll be explaining through how Hyperlane works. I'll be going in depth. So we have like two important contracts. So two mailbox contracts. So as the name says, it's very easy. So its main purpose is to send and receive messages. And we have some relayers which passes the mailbox contracts to other chains. And we have something called interchain security models, which I told you before. It's a set of rules which we define, and that rules is again very modular. Like you can decide like what kind of security you need. So we have a chain A, and we are sending a message to the mailbox contract, and depends upon the security needs. We can decide like we can validate their message by either through staked validators or through watchtowers. And let's say the message has came to the mailbox and now it is validated, and it will leave a digital signature over that message. And on the chain B, we have the same mailbox, and we have something called interchain security models, which I told you before. So it's again a set of uh, like codes which we define our security model. So you can entirely like tweak that. So once the message has been sent, the contract receives that and validates to the validators. And once the message has been validated and signatured, the relayer is always keep looking for the any message on the mailbox contract. So once a message is signed, it's been transferred to the chain B mailbox contract, and again, so that message has been added to the block on the second chain, but again it's not added to the blockchain. So once it has to pass a certain number of validation to add it to the chain. So now it goes to the interchain security model, the part which the security is mainly checked. And once it is passes the test again, it is added to the blockchain. And if it is not passes the chain, it is the asset won't be transferred and it stays on the chain itself. So as I told you, like we have like couple of like security models available at the moment. So one of these can be an economic security model where people like you and we can stake and stake and be a part of the validator ecosystem. And for example, let's say if I'm transferring 10 million worth of USDT to over to some other blockchain from Ethereum to Celestia. And what if my economic security model has only a limit of maximum 10 million? So I have to do some other way, right? So at that time, I can choose something like an optimistic ISM, which I can tweak and maybe I can set it for like 7 hours of waiting period or maybe like 4 hours. It entirely depends upon like how we want the transaction to happen. And the last and final one, which is the easy one, which is multi-sig, we can hand over the key to multiple authorities over then and we can make the transaction. So one of the regular bridging issues that like it's omni bridges. So all the assets are stored in one contract and they have been sent to the other chains. And this whole contract look like a cute little honeypot, which is very easy to get attacked. So what we do in Hyperlane, like we have something called wrap road, so which entirely, for example, let's say we want to send assets from Ethereum to Optimism, so we can define each set of route for each assets. So I can set one wrap route for USDT and another wrap route for USDC, and it's like tweaking, defining a particular path for each assets. And these each assets can have different security models. So what are the use cases? So some of the use cases are interchain swap. You don't have to bridge your assets. You can directly swap from your own chain, and then interchain accounts, and obviously interchain oracles, and interchain margins. So what are the end game for us is that like to provide inter-rollup networking between all the modular stacks and relaying, give the best relaying service possible for the other chains. And as I told you before, the security modular marketplace. So right now we have like other people building security models for us. One of the models are like ZK models, and finally interchain indents. So yeah, that's all about Hyperlane. So if you want to read more about this, go through the docs. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Soorya. And now it's our Q&A time. Does anybody have questions for Soorya or Hyperland? Any questions? Okay, so thank you so much, Soorya.
Thank you guys.
And